قال إنما أشكو بثي وحزني إلى الله وأحلم من الله ما لا تحلمون. He said, I only complain of my suffering and my grief to Allah, and I know from Allah that which you do not know. ما يفتك الله للناس من رحمة فلا ممسك لها. Whatever Allah grants to people of mercy, none can withhold. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today I have something quite serious to talk about. It's actually a tragic thing, but let's not evade from the topic. Someone really close to me lost their battle to depression. You know what I'm trying to say. I know someone who is very close to me, a person. She took her own life, a Muslim woman, because I assume it was because of depression. That person was always very depressed. It was not a secret to anyone, but I always got the impression that she was coping. She was taking medication. She was following, she had a treatment with specialists from time to time. And she seemed to, when she was talking, it was like she was struggling, but I guess people were not taking it that seriously. With time, when you keep hearing the same thing over and over again, maybe you banalize it, maybe you take it lightly, maybe you think the person is just complaining, because there are people who complain sometimes of things which are not that serious. But ever since that event happened, first of all, I was very, very shocked, and I can't even, it has taken me a lot of hard work to digest it, to really mourn for it and get over it, to get closure, as we say. It didn't happen overnight. It's something that is very, very recent, but I didn't have the courage to actually talk about it openly and to make a video about it. But I feel that it's very, very important, because there are so many people who are suffering silently. This resonates with me particularly because I am also struggling a lot with my mental health from time to time, I won't lie. And this is something that is very, very important for me, probably the biggest cause of my life: mental health, depression, etc. You know, many times there are all kinds of depression. Each person deals with depression in a different way. There are many reasons for depression. There are many treatments for depression. Depression is something which is so vast and yet so misunderstood, unfortunately. It's true that currently, in our current era, I would say there is more awareness as compared to before. Long ago, people used to even have depression. People around you had depression, and it was never labeled as such. It was it was misdiagnosed maybe. I know that in many instances, when I was a child, I used to come across many people in certain families when I would visit relatives. These people were always very strange. They were like shut off from the majority. They were in a corner. They were really weird, and people say that they were crazy, that they were different. They were, you know, it was not labeled precisely, but it took me, when I grew up, I actually came to the conclusion that most probably these people were depressed, or they had really serious psychological disorders that not only went undiagnosed, but of course not treated, or at least not treated properly. So when that happened, when that suicide, I got to learn about it. Obviously, I was very, very shocked, very hurt, very sorry for that person. I can't even describe it. It was probably one of the most intense moments of my life. I will never forget that. But you know, let's not dwell on the past. What happened. We can't do anything about it, but we can prevent that from happening again. That's why every time something like that happens, someone takes their own life out of depression or out of any other reason, we talk about it and then we forget about it. It's just like, you know, it makes the headlines and then no one cares what happens afterwards. No one is really interested in knowing why do people feel like that in the first place. It's true that we are not guilty for anyone who feels depressed in this world, but at the same time, we have a collective responsibility as human beings to really help each other, to support each other, to understand each other, and to try to anticipate if any person around you is has these symptoms, shows these symptoms that they are severely depressed, then we can at least know how to tackle that situation. You know, what happened has really made me become conscious of my own struggle with depression. I can understand there are moments where even religion does not provide that solace which you are looking for when you are depressed. I'm not saying that religion doesn't help, it definitely helps. But what I'm trying to say is that depression is something that the solution is not just through religion, through prayer. Muslims probably tend to mix up the two. Someone who is severely depressed, they need professional help. They need to see a doctor, a therapist, a counselor. They need to take medications depending on the level of seriousness of the depression. They need to seek treatment for it. Just like when you are physically afflicted, or you have a tumor, or you have a disease, or an illness, or an injury, you will have to go to the hospital or go to see a doctor. You will not tell that person to just make dua, have patience, and believe that, you know, life is full of problems, God is testing you. Yes, all that is true, but let's put all of that behind for a moment. Depression is something real, it's scientific, it's medical, it's real, it's not in the person's mind, it's not a question of ingratitude, which many people get it wrong. Many people think, people who have never been through depression or mental disorders or psychological illnesses, they think that, you know, the person is just being stressed or just being worried. It's not that at all. As someone who has suffered from depression, who does suffer from such feelings from time to time, let me tell you very honestly what depression is. When you feel depressed, you feel like you hate yourself. You can't stand yourself. You can't stand life. You can't stand people. You don't look forward to anything. Nothing makes any difference to you. Nothing makes you cheer up. Nothing makes you happy. You might have the most gorgeous wardrobe, you might have the most beautiful face, you might have a handsome boyfriend, you might have a perfect job, or all the conditions that are supposed to make someone happy, but you are not in a position where you can actually enjoy it or appreciate it, because everything just feels so wrong. Your mind is in such a dark place that you can't even bear the very act of living. You just want to escape from it all and end the suffering. That is why some people eventually, perhaps they perceive it as a solution to end their life, when it is not a solution. It is not a solution because you're just transferring the suffering from one person to the other. When you leave, there are many people who will be very, very broken and shattered, you know, when you do that thing. I'm not trying to accuse these people. I understand totally how it feels, and I feel very, very sorry that anyone has to feel that way. There have been many instances in my own life where I just ask God to take me away from this world, to take my life. Then I learned that, you know, you should not ask that. You don't have the right to ask that. As a Muslim, you should ask God to keep you alive as long as there is good for you in it. But you never ask God to take your life, you know. And we need a lot of awareness when it comes to mental health. It makes me very, very disappointed and sad when I hear people, when I listen to how people react when you tell them that you're depressed, or that it seems like it disturbs people a lot. Like I always say, my mother told me once to never tell a guy that I'm depressed, otherwise he will not marry me, something like that. I understand where she's coming from. She's worried about me because some people are really short-minded on this earth. Maybe it's true that when someone will hear, I don't know if, let's say, I don't know about you, let's say you're going through some mental health disorder, or you're depressed, whether you're a man or you're a woman, and then you're not even allowed as if to talk about it to your partner. If you're looking to get married, it's like this dark, shameful secret that you should just keep in a corner. No one should know about it. It doesn't make any sense to me, because your life partner is the one with whom you're going to share everything, like everything. So why will you hide the fact that you are suffering, and why should you be ashamed? That's the problem. Why should you be ashamed when you haven't done anything wrong? It's not a sin, it's not a crime. I don't understand. It really drives me crazy. But I promised myself that I will, through my channel, through any other means that I have, I will try to spread awareness when it comes to mental health.
because I have been through that since a very young age. I had my first major depressive episode when I was 13. At 13 years old, you're a kid, you don't know anything about depression, you are very scared because it feels so strange and scary. It's something that you've never even experienced before. You have no idea what's going on. All kinds of people are telling you all kinds of things you don't know. You feel like, I don't wish that on anybody, but I guess that was God's plan for me, that it couldn't happen any way differently. It had to happen that way. And there are so many things to be said about depression, anxiety, OCD, post-traumatic stress disorder, etc. But I don't want to make this video too lengthy, so I'm going to end it here, and I will continue in the next one. It will be a kind of series. So let me know if you want to add something, if you've ever experienced any mental health disorder, if you want to share something, please feel free to do it, because it's very important that we have an open conversation about